Hello, my name is Clayton Cox, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about my history with aviation, where I have worked with aviation and what I've done personally with aviation as far as my hobbies, and where I plan to go with it. And this is for the data visualization course for the spring of 2019 for my final presentation. So I've always had a passion for aerospace. I earned an aerospace engineering degree from the University of Florida, and I got a job subsequently afterwards at Pratt & Whitney in East Hartford, Connecticut, working on the F-119 program and other various military engine programs. There are two pictures of me on the slide. The one on the right is me at work, actually debuting a new engine intelligence software on the F-119 engine. And the picture of me on the left is me at Barnes Air National Guard Base up in Westfield, Massachusetts. That aircraft actually is the aircraft I did my test on, and it was really great to see actually in person. And my job is essentially as a system engineer to do advanced data analytics on jet engine hardware. So in 2018, I decided to fulfill a lifelong dream and go learn how to fly an airplane. I started a private pilot's license while I was in my first semester at Duke, and I started learning in Cessna Skyhawks, the 172s, which is pretty standard starting point for all pilots around the world. I feel like I snapped this picture. This is the cockpit of one of the Skyhawks I learned to fly in. This is one of these R models. It still has the old school gauges, no heads-up displays. Starting out with the breakdown of the aircraft that I've flown three different variants of Skyhawks when I was learning how to fly. And it was really great because I learned a lot about different types of aircraft systems because of the age of the aircraft. I started out in the 1970s Cessna 172. I did 36% of my training hours in this aircraft. I then picked up some time on an R model Cessna 172. They kind of look the same, but it's actually longer. I did about 30% of my training hours in that aircraft, and then I did the rest of my aircraft training in an S model when the school got a new airframe, and I spent about 34% of all my flight time in a S model. Actually, really enjoyed flying the N model. It always cranked up whatever I needed to, and the handling characteristics were pretty easy for someone who's just learning how to fly. So my training kind of was split up into four major categories, at least for my training school. The primary portion of my flight training was done during the day, so I did the most hours here, as you can see on the chart on the right hand side. I did about 50 hours worth of training during the day, tacked on about 3 or 4 hours at night. Did not really enjoy flying at night. I did about 10 hours worth of cross country, and I did a lot of wind shear relative to which most training schools do. But I did about 3 or 4 hours worth of wind shear training and low level wind shear in high turbulence days to be able to know how to handle an airplane during bad and adverse conditions. The picture on the left is a photo actually I snapped of me flying over Newport, Rhode Island during the middle of the summer of 2018. This is one of the cross-country flights that I did when I was flying over into eastern Massachusetts. So I kind of broke down all the landings that I've done in the New England area. Most of my training, as you can see, is centered around KHFD. That's actually Hartford Branded Airport. I have about 90 landings there, and I did all the rest of my training mostly in the central and eastern portions of Connecticut, where KIJD, where it's Wyndham Willimantic, and all the single points, as you can see, in upper Massachusetts and western Massachusetts, as well as Rhode Island and eastern Mass, were portions of my cross-country training where I would fly to an airport and learn how to get into a traffic pattern and just get a feel for landing at a different elevation, a different type of tower arrangement, runway arrangement, and working with different controllers to be more comfortable in the air. And the big portion of the flight training was also learning aircraft systems, and so I made a network diagram that kind of shows you how all the different parts of an engine and an airplane can kind of tack on to each other, and different parts of the airplane kind of are interconnected. The network diagram I created is pretty basic because if I tried to make one of the full airplane, it'd be astronomically huge. And then what I did was I kind of brought in a diagram to kind of show the different types of components that are on a single system. So here is the fuel system for a Skyhawk 172 in model, and it shows you the vacuum pumps, the pumps that bring the fuel down, the fuel indicators air onto it, and how the fuel actually gets into the engine. This is where I plan to start doing some more flying, is out into the outer lines of Connecticut and Rhode Island to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket. I'd like to eventually earn some more ratings in my instrument commercial and its wind engine rating. And a seaplane rating would be really nice in Connecticut too, since there's tons of seaplane bases everywhere. So here are the references that I used to make the presentation. I used my flight school's personal photo inventory, and then I used a lot of what I've taken when I was flying. So thank you very much.